When we are talking of data, data is what is helping us to make a decision. We will also have transport and academic data put together if there is a lot of withdrawal in the school. When it comes to taking a leadership decision, now data here gives a reference also. It helps to understand the pattern and the trends, the relationship between the data. That data is becoming very, very important in today's time. When we are talking of data, data is what is helping us to make a decision. And when we are making a decision, the analytics help us to improve our decision or make it better. So the data which we have has to be collected from the school itself. Now there are many, many sources of data in the school. If we begin with, uh, there is always a student data, and there are two kinds of data which we have. One is the historic data, which was of the previous years, and one is of the real time data. Now historic data could be the data which has been collected over the years, but the real time data is like when we are monitoring our CCTV footage is to be maintained, or our transport. All these are real time data. So there is a difference between the two kinds of data we collect, and both of them, the real time data helps us at some time to take a decision, because real time is day to day happening. But your data, which is like the academic, this thing is either quarterly, it can be monitored, or it could be done half yearly or term wise, or at the end of the year every school analyzes how the children have done and how they're going to make them improve for the next year. Maybe go on to the next one. All right. Now, what is the decision which we taken the all the data? Now, I told you we have got the data with us. Now, data is the information or facts that are collected and stored in a particular manner, used for different purposes. Now, the transport data is going to be used for various others, but we will also have transport and academic data put together if there is a lot of withdrawal in the school, or when we are talking of the number of the admissions which is going to come in the school. Now this can be in form of numbers, it could be in form of words, it could be some images, like we store our images of the annual days, functions, whatever has happened, so we collect those also. And it helps us to make an informed decision when we have to take a decision in future. Now, when we come to now, what is analytics? Analytics is just a process of studying this data which we have. And before taking a decision, we look back. It's like a reference to context situation, that this has been happening. So in future, will this be possible, or shall we change our decision? That will help us to take a strategic decision at that point of time. Then importance in school leadership. Now this is very, very important as a school, as it's the leadership does not lies in the hand of the principal only, it is the teachers also, because you are the ones who are in direct connect with the parents and the student. If we talk of the four stakeholders of the school, one is the parent, the students who come to us, the teachers, and the management. Now, management does not connect with the student or the parent that often, neither does the principal, except for the morning and the day routine when she is there. Otherwise, it's a less interaction. But the teachers who go to the class every day, it's a day to day. Now, the information which you have is more of a day to day, it's a real time information which you have with you. So real time information, small issues we will always get through you. Then when it comes to taking a leadership decision, now data here gives a reference also. It helps to understand the pattern and the trends, the relationship between the data, the trends which have changed, or when you go through the data, you see there is a certain trend which is shown in them. Say if we talk of the admissions, see, you take an historic data of last 5 years and see how the number of admission is happening each year. there is a rise in the admission or there is a drop in the admission. Now, with the rise and drop of the admission, you will also correlate to your withdrawals, the number of children who are coming in and the children who are leaving. So that is a gap analysis which you have to understand, because we are all working for a full strength school, because that's how it becomes beneficial. So these are the small things which we manage to understand, and we also make informed maybe we are not getting admission due to certain thing which we have found out, that when the earlier the trend was going high, suddenly it has dropped down. Why has it dropped down? There could be some reason. There is somebody not behaving well with them, or the buses which were could ply to that particular area have stopped going because they have a fewer, or the road is not good. Could be just anything. So we have to take a decision. What do we do now? Shall we take a send our buses there? Because as we go ahead, we'll be doing a lot of case studies. Now, types of data which we have. One is the student data. Now, student data is all about your date of birth, your addresses, students' addresses, their progress, their report cards, their now to we have their UDICE numbers. All these are student data. Then after that, we have their academic records also, how they have been performing in the years. Then their participation record, how many times they participate in the school, whatever activities they've been participating, where they have been winning. So all this data we have. Then we have the teachers data. All right, now besides this data, we have also data of the transport. Then we have the data of the infrastructure also, what we have been doing, what has the number of classes, how many laboratories, how many washrooms, have we added something to the school, do we have a swimming pool, or are we planning a swimming pool, or do we have a basketball court, or we are planning to renovate. All that also we have from time to time. But the data of the teachers and staff, because the major expenses come to the salaries, so that data is also kept in. Then we have the last kind of data which we have is the alumni data. Now the students who have left the school are no longer with us but have moved on in life. Now some children go and do well, and they have some of them have really achieved good positions in their life. So their data helps us, because once we want to invite them back to school, it is prestigious for them also as well as for us, because the current children see that this is what the seniors have been doing. So it's an inspiration to them to move towards that. Can we move on to the next one? Next. All right. Now, now all this data which we have collected from the various different angles of the school or the different segments of the school, it helps us to identify the gaps. Again, it helps us to find out the problem or the issue which we have, and help us to rectify it or make it better. So the data which we have with us will only help us to take a better decision. Then helps in targeted teacher training. Now when we go through the data which the of the teachers, it helps us see there are students in the class. Now there are all kind of performers. We have different levels of students, at least 3 levels of student which we majorly take. Some are low performers, mediocres, and high performers. So there could be a situation where some one level is not doing well. See, the high performers will always do well, but the mid segment or the lower level of the student is struggling. So we will understand what kind of training has to be given, or we can reshuffle the class so that extra help is given to them, and these children improve, because by the end of the day, we are all here to educate the children, not academically making them strong, but educate them. Now, optimizes school operations. Now, there are many things which I just referred, that you want to start a new lab in the school. You have to, now there are many things you have to see. It's just not you have an idea of putting up a lab. Is there space in the school? Does it have, will it be made as an extension of the building, or will it be or another floor of the building? So all these decisions have to be taken, and that depends on the data which we have. If the land allows, then we can extend the building. If it doesn't permit, and even it doesn't permit to go a level higher, then there is a decision to be taken. Do we accommodate it into our existing? Are we having a space there? So all this also helps in optimizing the operations of the school. Even see the number of buses you have. If the number of student is increasing, so your number of buses have to be increased. If the number of students increase, again, and student increase comes with increase in the teachers, increase in the furniture, increase in the classrooms. So all these things we can take a decision on. Now comes to enhancing parental engagement. Now what happens that the connection between the school and the parent is actually through you. It is through you to the child and to the parent, or directly to the parent to the child, and it comes back to you. So the teachers are there as the at the front always. So the parent engagement, if we do not enhance it, sometimes we have to find out how many parents have been regularly coming to the parent teacher meeting. Now, those who are not coming, why are they not coming? So we have to find out all these things, and this gap will help us. See, if they come to us, they hear what we have to say, they understand our problems, and we understand their problems. So it will ultimately help the child to grow better. Can we go on to the next one? Now we will come with the case study. So let's make it a little more interactive. We can put the answers in the chat boxes. Uh, the problem is that there is decline in class 10 results. So now we have to do a data driven decision where the problem lies. Now there are assessment trends. We take their surprise test. We take a small MCQ test. We take formative assessments. We take summative assessments. We take orals. We do all kind of testing. Now, why are their grades falling? Then why sometimes the attendance is low? So why are they not coming to school regularly? What is the reason? So we start finding out reasons for their not coming or what the issues are. So it helps us to make a better decision now. Any other reason? Why do the declining results, the grades in class 10th? Or the teacher is not performing well, she's not taking her class well. She says she's done a good job, but it doesn't show in the results, because see, board results come from the board. So there is no manipulation in that, but your school results are your own results where you can make a difference. Now, every time if the entire class is getting a good mark also doesn't prove that the teacher is very good. That means the teacher is not able to identify the difficulty level which she has to be given to the students. Yes, revision tests should be conducted, because there is the diagnostic also which is done, which also helps us to identify the issues. So revision classes should be conducted definitely. Yes, there could be more intensive classes. That would be the action which we take. Now to begin with, now how do we check this? Now we start collecting data. First is the teacher observation. So teacher observation is what she's doing in the class, how she's conducting the class, plus how she has planned her classes. Has she planned her classes? What is her lesson plan saying? Is she executing it according to the lesson plan, or is she not? And everybody is not perfect. Maybe she's not well that day, or she's taken a lot of leave. A certain topic or a chapter could be left or is not being covered that way. So we find out what the reason is there. So by whatever we have collected, the data which we'll collect, we will be able to put the dots together. Now we will start taking another thing we will do next. We come to the student now. Now we'll target them. We can have a diagnostic test, understand where the problem is. Then we target a remedial class. Remedial class doesn't mean that you let the children sit in the class or you tell them to learn up the chapters. No. The remedial class shows if you think the child needs a remedial, that means the concept is not clear to him, and it is our duty to ensure that we clear those concepts. So we're going to be working on that also. Then there is an enrichment classes. Now you give remedial classes to the one who are lacking behind. What about the ones who have, they're at par with it, but they also need to be engaged in the classroom. So for them we will do the enrichment classes. Now you can club, if you have a number of sections in the class, you school, you can put them together. You can give them, yes, you can give them worksheets, you can give them some, you can at least, what I have always been following, that 5 years of class 10 papers and 10 years of class 12 papers, if you've done them well, you'll at least manage to get 50% and above. So that at least 70% of your course is covered. I mean, you can reach to up to that level. So if we insist on that also, we can better. So that's, we are not getting into the nitty gritty of it. We are actually collecting the data. Then personalized plan for students. Now we all know that it is an inclusive system. We will have children who are special also. Then what do we do with them? So we need to have a personalized plan. Or they could be a child who was doing well but fell ill in between, or is going through some kind of a health issue. So we need to put a very personalized, so we will find out, identify that these children were put on this level, and then the results will matter. Now, after, since our 2 years results are not dipping down, so we took this action and we have done a review, we've collected the data, we've done the analysis, and we have planned an action plan, which is to do the teacher observation first. Are the teachers executing well in the class? Then we did the remedial, then we did enrichment, we did all the personalized plans, and then we wait for the result to come. Now, this result, the ensuing result will tell us whether our action taken or the strategies um, taken ahead have been beneficial for us or not. Next one, ma'am. Now, here's another case study. How do we enhance the teacher effectiveness? Now we see that the children in the class, in our school exams, as well as the board, have not scored well in their critical thinking. Scores are less. So how do we start working on it? Now for the school exams, now this is a analysis, and the data can be collected cross-sectional. It can be vertical data as well as the horizontal data. Now for the very first thing we're going to do is the classroom observation. Again, we will see how the teacher is working, because teacher and the taught, the two things are very important in the school. So again, we'll go through their lesson plan, see how they're executing, are they doing everything. Then we are going to take a student feedback also. We can take and a peer feedback from the teachers also we can take. And then and this data which has to be collected has to be done through the either through the Google Forms, or all of you have these ERPs now. So through that also, and through the LMS also, we can collect the data. It can be through this Excel sheets also. So we'll have this data collected, and then we're going to plan an action. An action will be planned, which would be a custom training for the teachers, because once we have spoken to the children also, we do come to know where the gaps are. So we'll be a more of a very customized training for the teachers. Then we'll do inquiry and inquiry based learning. And so that at least now, when we say these terminology like inquiry based and inquiry based learning, so I would just want to give a little light on this also, that both of them are actually very similar, but there is a very hairline difference between the two also. Both are student-led exploration and critical thinking is promoted. They promote active learning. So that means they're emphasizing on higher order learning skills. Now, the IBL, the inquiry-based learning, is more exploratory. It gets more into the exploration part, whereas the EBL, the inquiry based learning, is a little more structured and fact based. So there is a thin line between the two, but more or less they go hand in hand with each other. So if we start working on this also, there'll be a vast difference which is seen, because again we are working on, previously I've already mentioned, the remedial and the enrichment and these trainings, and here we have also thought of taking care of the teachers training also. So all in all, we'll find that there is some increase in the school results. Now, when we do the cross-sectional data collection, the analysis, and the vertical and horizontal, sometimes, you have teachers who are teaching 6, 7, 8. They're taking a section, and sometimes they could be taking bus 7 A, B, C, whatever. So now what is the difference in the three classes, the three sections she goes to, and what is the problem which we find in the higher level, the vertical levels, like the 6 is also having a similar kind of problem is the 7. So we also identify the little things which the teachers are facing or are unable to do as our expectations. Now, once we have done it, we have our previous data also, some historical data also, and every year. See, when we are doing an academic analysis, we normally take 3 years data. But when we are doing infrastructure or budget or finance, then we will at least take 5 years. Even for the admission and withdrawals, we take 5 years data. Next one, ma'am. All right, now we come to the third. Now there is reduction in we have to reduce the student absenteeism. How do we go about it? Now the students are frequent absenteeism we are seeing in the students. So now we have to analyze both sides. We should be aware of both sides of the coin now. The situation at home and the situation in school, to understand why the child is not coming. Now, again, the attendance of the child is a real time data which we collect because it is day to day. Okay. Now, if we see the school aspect, maybe the teacher is not actively teaching in the class, means she's not making the class very interesting. So the child lacks interest and does not want to come to school. He says, school mein to kuch nahi hota, so I better stay home. Then there could be some peer issue in the school also. Some children could be bullying them, or there could be some other issues inside the school, and he doesn't want to come, or he's had a big fight with somebody, and maybe his own best friend, and he doesn't want to face him back. So that could be one issue. Then, since the child is not performing well in the class, he may not be wanting to come because he feels humiliated, because every time the teacher asks, he's unable to answer. So he feels sad. He says, the teacher makes me stand up and she says, you know nothing, you've not been learning at home. So he doesn't like it. So he avoids coming to school. Or there could be a issue like once he comes to school, he cannot go to the toilets because he finds the washrooms very dirty. There could be a problem like this also. So we have to first identify why the child is not coming to the school. So if we found out we've done a 360-degree analysis why he is not coming to school, then we go to the home aspect. He could be unwell, not feeling well, so he doesn't want to come to school. Or maybe there is some parental issues. The parents do not get along pretty well, and there is some dispute amongst them, and there is some problem, and the child doesn't know what to do, or he's been told to stay home till the decision is taken. So that is one issue. There could be some kind of mental trauma which he's carrying, and he just secludes himself. He wants to keep, and he would have even told his parents that my there's nothing happening in the school, so even if I don't attend it, it's okay. Then it could be a weather condition also. Sometimes there are waterlogging, and the child is not able to come because his area is waterlogged, and it was 1 day, 2 days, but that frequency will be seen in his real time attendance. So if it is during that time, a weather condition, and which of course would be known to you also, since it is raining, so you know it's raining, or the school transport is not able to reach there, so he is not able to come because he can't wait through that. Or it could be, I wanted the audiences also to keep adding your inputs also, because then we can discuss that also. Besides, we'll be doing the question answers at the end. So these are the reasons which I could think of. I'm sure you will have many more to add on, that the child is not coming to the school. And sometimes it's socioeconomic data also. Maybe the parent is not having enough money to pay the school bills also. He feels that the school fees has gone very high, or the transport is very exorbitantly charging us. So he decides, I'm not sending the child, or whatever. Maybe, and he says that I'll drop, but unfortunately, he doesn't get time to drop him also, or he is not there at home, or he has traveled. So, could be a reason which we identify. Now, what are the actions which we'll take if we have understood this is the problem, and this is a real time problem? So yes, of course, we can refer to the historic data of the child, that has he been doing it previously also, if it comes to an individual level. But when we're talking of absenteeism here, we're talking of a group of students. So we may subsidize the bus if the bus is according to the survey, or according to the feedback which you've gathered, that the fees is high. And we can also do a parental awareness, that how important it is for the child to attend the school regularly. There is something or the other happening, and the child is missing on to that, and he will have a lot of work to cover up later on. So, and we all, since we are doing the class observation which we've done last in the previous case study also, we also come to know whether the teacher is performing well in the class. Because if it's um, a larger number, alarming number, then of course we have to get into that aspect also. So we've done that. So when we put all those things in place, we made the parents aware also, we also understood their issues, we gave all ears to them. So we realized that the absenteeism dropped to almost about 7%, that the children started coming to school. And because of that, there was a improvement in their assessment. Obviously, if they're regular in school, their academic performances also enhances. So we had that also improving. Next. Now we come to the fourth kind. Now this is actually the budget optimization. Now this is a very big, basically it is with more of the leadership team, and the accounts department gets involved in it. But it actually relates to the entire school, because all of you every year give your requisitions, what you want in school, what more can be added to the school. Supposing you have a lab which is not able to manage the strength which you have today, so obviously you will ask, the science teachers will say, we want a bigger lab, or we want another lab. Supposing the computer lab is not able to accommodate the students, the number has increased, or because of the number of sections increased, every class is not getting the appropriate number of periods. So that is where your inputs come. And then now it is the time for the management to sit down, and the accounts to do the budgeting. Now, the major expense in the school is basically the salary which they give away, the regular expenses and the salary. Now, salary, when they find that they're paying a higher salary, like some old teachers, they think that since they have been here, and they can continue staying in the school, virtue of being old in the school, but they do not want to change themselves to the trending situations now, the changes. See, if we talk of it, change is the only constant in our life. Now they don't want to change to the new systems or the trends which have changed. They don't want to teach in that. See, we were basically content based so far. Now we have moved from content to competencies. Now, there is a big shift in the teaching. If the teacher does not groom her or himself with the times, you're left behind. So, you have to improve yourself day to day as the need of the hour. The NEP, if you've not gone through the NEP, you're not understood it, then why are you in this profession? So, that is one big, and you always have the other option. They will have teachers, freshers, or maybe young teachers who are more technically sound and are able to come in a lesser salary. So that is also considered. Then uh, bills, transport, electricity, and all are also. Now, I said this is 5 years. This is the data collected is historic data for the of the previous 5 years. Now, the bills, have they gone up? Has the income increased? If the income is, the number of admissions increase, that means the income has increased. So the expenditure according to that will increase. Is that balanced, or are we getting a lesser income? We are doing a higher expenditure. So where can we cut down? The number of transport, most of the schools are running their own transport. So the buses, are they able to manage that number, or are we having more buses than the requirement? So we can curtail a few buses for some time. We have to plan all that. Whether we want a new wing to be made, just I said that you want a lab to be added or you want a pool to be added. Now, all this infrastructural changes cost a lot of money. So, for that, you have to plan it accordingly, allocate the budget to go ahead with it. Then, now the data which we had collected, we worked on 5 years historic data. Now, to save the electricity part, of course, you can shift through the solar power systems now. You will save on to some money. Then some money can be allocated to the new wings. You can have a new lab, AI lab, or you have a sport facility added to it accordingly. And some teachers, it's just not the old and the new. If the number of students have increased, your number of teachers will also increase. And with that, you have the other staff also increasing. So if we have this number, then this number of teachers is required, and for them, this is the salary required. So that budget is done by the accounts department. Now, after the action taken, they realized that there was save. They could manage to save some amount of money because of the solar power. The electricity could be saved, and there was an increase in the enrollment. That means by adding a new thing in the school or giving an added facility to the students, the parents see school runs on word of mouth, the information which goes from one parent to the other. So they felt it was good, and your number of admissions increase. So what has it done? If we have an increase in the admission number, the income of the school definitely increases. So they have a they can spend easily. They have a little lighter hand on spending. They don't have to be very stingy about putting the money into any other thing. Yes, ma'am, we go on to the next one. All right. Now we come to the parents. We've actually covered all aspects of the school through these case studies. Now we come to the case study 5, which says strengthening parent engagement. Now, how do we actually strengthen the parental involvement? In some of the schools, and many of you will vouch by me, the parents don't want to come to school. You keep calling them and they say, we have no time to come. Abhi to hum busy hai, we will not be able to come. Right? So, but we still have to have that connectivity with the parent, because ultimately the child and the parent is very, very important, because that's how we're able to run the school. The school is not made of the infrastructure, it is made by the students and the teachers who come there. So, now we had collected the data of the school interactions. Now, what are your school interactions? You have your parent teacher meetings, you have your sports events, you have your annual day, you may have your exhibitions. Now, every time when the parent comes, you normally we have a feedback form, or we have the we ask them to give a validation or write something or comment on how it was. So that's how the data is collected. Then there are feedback forms also from time to time, which is sent to the parents to find out how they are doing it and how the child is feeling in the school. Is the child happy? Does he want to come to school every day? So all these feedback forms and all the other data is collected from time to time, and then we analyze the data. Now for this, we don't need a very long data. We can suffice with 3 years, or if you really want to look into something very specific, then can go down to the 5 years data. Now the main thing is communication, which I just said, that if there is no communication between the child and the parent, of you to the child and child to the parent, then there'll always be a gap. So first we have to ensure that there is a good connectivity between the two. So for that, you could use your mobile app for the updates. We all have apps in the school, or you can also create a broadcast group of the parents, so that some information which you feel is not then unable to open the app or reach up to that, it can go through that. So we can intensify that. Then we can have interactive workshops. See, a lot of things what happen, that the parent has to understand, there are a lot of changes coming in the CBSE or the NEP, has as since it has come. So we have to tell the parents about it. If the parents get aware of it, they are happy and they will be able to help you to perform better in the class also, because they understand what you're teaching. Some of the parents, the problem is because they are thinking of their time of education, how they had gone through school. So that schooling has changed, or they must have gone to any ordinary local school and they have sent their child to one of the best schools. So the systems are different. To adapt the child and the parent to that system, we have to have these workshops to inform them, like the APAR which came. Now, even the board said that the parents should be called and informed about it. So it was the duty of the school to do it. So we interacted and we informed the parents that why the PAR is there and when we needed their consent also. So that's how we connect that, build up that interaction between the two. Then we realized, after doing this entire exercise, we realized that there was a 40% increase in the participation. Sometimes, parents come to you, they don't come like to come during the PTM because you have the other parents sitting there also, and you're saying that your child is doing nothing. Now, that doesn't like that. The parent doesn't want to be humiliated in front of the others. For him, it is an image. So he avoids coming. But whenever you call, he avoids. So if we work these things out from the previous data, because you as teachers identify also which parents are of what kind. So if we collect that kind of data also, we'll be able to make a better decision. And we start uh, getting into the parents or asking them to come more often. Now there is a yes, another thing. If we ask our parents to come very often for any little thing, you call up the parents and you say, sir, your child is not doing this in class, please come and see me or come and visit the principal office, then the parent also avoids. So we have to avoid those kind. You are there, you are the first person, you are in the emergency ICU department. So you will be the first who will deal that. You will not let that issue escalate anywhere, because the moment you let that escalate, you will also get into trouble. So we have now, we thought the parent, we came to know that there was a good increase in the parent participation. And with that, the academics of the students also increased. Definitely, when the parent understood the system, he was able to guide the child better at home. So that also increases. So in school, every little thing is interrelated. And mind you, we are all humans. We all have likes, dislikes. We have our good moods. We have our bad moods. We have our good days. Sometimes you get get up on the right side of the bed, sometimes you get up on the left side of the bed. So all that will go hand in hand. We just can't ignore that. So whatever happens, we are trying with this data to improve our own system. Next one. All right. Now, with all this talking and all the case studies we've gone through, the practices which we have to now imbibe, we all have to build a data culture, which of course the teachers can also do. When you are ever having your class test, your child who comes to school, you can also maintain the simple data that whether the child is coming well dressed to the school. You can um, honor the child, you can give him and award him something, give him recognition for them. He is wearing, he ties his shoelaces properly, he does his homework every day. You can also maintain these small records, actually these minor records with dates. If you have with you, it always helps you to talk better with the parents, because if you give them a data, see, sir, on this date also your child was not well dressed, on this date also, and this date he did not get his maths book, again on the 23rd he was without his English book, on the 29th he was without his maths book. When you have that data, the parent also feels that yes, you're talking right, you have also made that effort to collect that data and represent it. So that is the impact which you will create with your parents, because you're the ones who meet the parents more often. Then train the teachers to interpret the data. Of course, you will have workshops, and we can also conduct workshops as to how to interpret this data. Because, see, you at the ground level, if you're not able to do, when it comes to the leadership team, it is a big data, right? But when it is up to you, it will also help you to improve your own self also. Improving yourself is also very, very important, because if you don't groom yourself and not grow every day, you have lost the race, because we are all running in a race. And there is a lot of change in the education system, and we all have to match our steps with the new system. So that is where we should always learn to do new things and grow with it. Now use real-time analytic tools. Of course, online there are many available. If you want to use them, you can search them. You have the AI also, which gives you all the information. So you want, you can jump onto AI, being safe and not landing up into some kind of a cyber fraud. You can do that also. Now, this also helps you to regularly take decisions. Now, what happens, and making strategies. See, what was doable in 2019 was not doable in 2020. We just have a very recent example of the corona pandemic coming in. Whatever we were doing in 2019, we were unable to do it. From the offline mode, we went to the online mode. And now we are on the hybrid mode. Now, if you see today in Allahabad, you have the Mahakumbh running. But from the Mahakumbh, people are going to Varanasi to visit the Vishwanath temple and also visit Ayodhya, the Ram Mandir. Now, Kumbh is one place where the entire thing is a new city created. It is away from the main city, but still schools there are running on hybrid mode, because children cannot come to school. We cannot afford to have that kind of traffic. Because of the traffic insurgence in Varanasi and Ayodhya, the schools are on online mode there also. And in Delhi, because of the election campaigning and various things, there were schools were put on hybrid mode. See, so there could be different decisions taken strategically and regularly, because you could not have decided, even if you decided to have your exams, you had to use a different mode. And if they don't take these decisions from time to time, now this decision of not having the schools running comes from the uh, your bureaucrats or the the administration. Reason being, because they have to manage the traffic. So this comes to you. Now accordingly you decide at your level. Now the principal or the leadership team has to take a lot of decisions from time to time. Oh, when it comes to the major work, in all the principals who sit here will agree with me, is the admissions. The number which you want has to be achieved by the principal and given by the management, that we need to have this many number of students. All right, you work on that. What about the number of students which are going to leave you? Are we also thinking on the withdrawal which is going to happen? Are we working on it? Have we checked out, or have we tried to find out how many children do not plan to continue with us? So here is that level of decision. And why, if we have, even if we have here also, we can make use of 5 years data, that why the children have left the school. What is the reason? Is the approach not good? Is there is something missing in the school, or the fees is very high? Accordingly, a more constructive or more I mean say a more sound decision can be taken. So for that also this data is required. Next, ma'am. Next slide. All right, now we come to the end of it. You've heard me lots. Now, what is very, very important for us to do as schools is that we must embrace the analytics at every level. Data enables us personalized learning. It helps. That's what I just told you. That enables you to do a personalized learning. You will understand how you are improving, or there is a problem, or your work is deteriorating. Maybe you're putting in a lot of effort. You had 10 children to teach earlier, but now with the passage of time, the number in this classroom has increased. Now you're teaching 40 students. Definitely, the audience has the numbers, the sample size is also increased. So there'll be differences. The different kind of learners have also come in. So you will have to change, and this helps you to understand the data which you collect, helps you to understand where and what you can improve on. Then actually effective leadership is all about making informed choices. You have to make the right kind of choices, and sustainable choices also. I mean, if you've taken a decision, you just can't say ki you started a decision, you said tomorrow we will do this, but then even before tomorrow, because every tomorrow becomes today, and today you have a different decision. You can't do that. You have to stick to the decision for some time, because you will have to let it mature. Of course, if it is a decision which you think is not at all good, or is going to bring in a lot of harm, then of course it can be immediately removed or rethought of. But not that today you think, no, no, let's do this today, tomorrow, no, no, let's not do that. Don't do that. Give some time for it to at least mature itself, or have a feel, a look and feel of the decision also. Now, call to action. All of you, what you have to do now is, how can we implement this data driven strategies in our school today? Now, you will all have to plan out how you can do it in your school, because every school is different and every individual is also different. Besides the curriculum which is there, the school mindset, the school vision, mission all differs. As individuals also you differ. So you will plan out how this can be used in your day-to-day functioning of the school.
How to seamlessly use the data collected with appropriate controls and access.
See, it's up to you how you want to use it. If you've been using it, you can use a tool, you can go online. But if you're using an ERP, it also has this inbuilt in it. So you don't have to go anywhere. You can just take that 5 years, 3 years data, and you can create your analysis can be done accordingly. It also highlights the lower ends and the higher points also. You can do that. So it's there on the ERPs, and all these apps which you use, the school apps all have it now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question. What are some practical tools or software that educators can use to track and analyze the student performance data?
Again, the LMS, the ERPs is when they put the see student data is in there. Um, what do you call it, their marks registers which they create, no, where they write their marks in the report cards they generate. So if it is generated through any of the apps, then this data is already there. You can go through it. You can divide the data into the, if you're analyzing the marks, you have to put them in three categories: the performers, the mid performers, and the underperformers. And accordingly, whatever the number says, we can put the dots together and create that. If we have too many underperformers, that means there is something lacking. Again, we go back to remedial. And if we have children performing too well in the class, that means as a teacher, you have to introspect your learning, the teaching method, because you are not coming up to the difficulty level of the students. So they're finding it easy. That is why they're answering it. So that is basically your marks register has all the data for you when you're doing an academic. And it is again monthly, quarterly, term wise. It's up to you how you want to analyze.
Ma'am, we have another question here. Is the principal burdened with infrastructure issues and admissions in our system as against making pedagogical interventions?
Yes. In today's system, what we hear of, I think because of so many schools coming in, the franchise school culture which has come in, and yes, admission is one very big important aspect where every principal is has to do it, because see, you are the financial and administrative head of the school. So financial head, if we call you, then you have to have the admission, because that is how the income increases. That is, if we talk in terms of the business or the other industry, that's the sale which we do. So if your sale is good, obviously your income will be generated, your school is growing. So yes, they are burdened, but with your, if you strategically, you have the 5 years data, you can sit down, you can see the average number of students which have come every year, as well as the average number of students which have gone. Or you can take the median mode method, and you can also create a your own analysis of the admissions. So you have to be smart there, because how many hoardings you have to put, because that is all expenses. And as in principal, you are of course the financial and the administrative head of the school.
Thank you,
And
ma'am, for that.
academics is one part of it. So you wear three hats. You have three stars to look at. So academics, of course, you have to do it. And that is why we have the systems of HODs, and you have these, what do you call, coordinators. That's why we have introduced those systems. Earlier, they were not there. Why they have come in? Because it is understandable that the academic part has to be leveraged. But of course, you are the leaders. You have to drive that also.
Ma'am, are our principals trained or equipped for such a big task?
Yes. Then why did you take up this challenge of becoming a principal? See, it is the highest position. And if you see, when you rise up, it's like a pyramid. The more you go up, it becomes steeper and it gets difficult. So if you have, see, most of you take a decision to become a principal. If you have taken that decision, then good and bad all comes in the same bag. So you have to take that forward with you.